I almost said it again. Recording in progress. Here we go. So my first question for you right out the gate. We have some delicious topics in store for you all today. We're going to talk about sensorial reality inception, which is magnificent, which allows for instant quantum manifesting. And then we're going to get into the realms of sweltering hot, sumptuous, sacred, sovereign, autonomous belief configuration. And before we delve in to those topics, because we had a moment of deja vu before we hopped on, so I would love to ask you, beautiful, sacred Alana, how do you perceive deja vu? What do you believe that deja vu is?
I have varying levels of deja vu. So sometimes it can be a couple words for me, and sometimes they can get as complex as where I've noticed in the deja vu that I noticed I was in the deja vu while I was noticing I was in the deja vu. And those ones are really profound for me. I feel the energy of affirmation. I feel the energy of alignment. I feel that also it can just be like playful reminders of like, okay, so you kind of pre-created this moment and now you are attuning to it, arriving at it. And sometimes I think that there's little memos embedded in other deja vus where it's like either you forgot about a piece or there's another part that you can take with you as like an epiphany that you hadn't had before. So I kind of think of it like the Postal Service. You like get a postcard that says happy birthday. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like there's just those reminders of, concurrent realities that we've already experienced, just synchronizing with them in this here and now and recollecting it, in the moment. That's profound. Yeah.
Yeah. I also like to think of like the tenant example where things in the future can be affecting things in the past and things in the present can be affecting things in the past. And I've really had a great time with that where I've embedded things into reality, like with the complete conviction that they can go backwards and affect Alana in a previous timeline on another dimension.
Yeah.
And so I could also be that. It could be something that I left for myself in the future to receive and have and utilize now.
Yes. I'm feeling the juicy, rich nectar of that. Today has been a powerful day of like synthesizing from the field, just like dropping things into crystallization and the material reality. And so I could feel, just feeling the poignancy of that in embodiment and knowing that utter conviction that literally translates quantum wave functions into particles, which is form. Feeling that, it makes sense that there would be deep synchrony unfolding and recollected, remembered in the moment. And I'd love to touch on a beautiful concept that you just brought forward around altering our past and creating our future simultaneously in the present moment.
Yeah.
And the actual quantum physics of that, which actually leads into instant quantum manifesting and sensorial inception. So it's brilliant.
That's true.
It's just what happens in one place and the quantum field happens instantly, concurrently, and simultaneously everywhere at the same time, meaning that when we make an update here, when we shift our state, we pivot frequencies and we harness the most powerful, lucrative currency that we have, which is our attention. We pivot we pivot our attention to focus on what I would call the ultimate reality, and we come into sensorial congruence with that. It shifts the entire, because reality is a singular moment occurring simultaneously, all potentials, possibilities, everything throughout infinite creation exists in this now. So when we shift here, we shift all the fractal facets of the hologram simultaneously. So it shifts what our past had to be, and it shifts what the future will be. And it's really actually just an immediate alchemization of reality. So if we've experienced this, relationships are a great portal to witness this.
Mm-hmm.
Such a beautiful tool and a teacher. When you make an internal shift, or when I or we, and you watch the beautiful beings in your world shift, you watch the circumstances shift, you watch everything shift, there's a very real phenomenological alchemy that we get to witness. And people call it altered states of consciousness, but I would say that it's actually our prime source of consciousness.
Yeah, totally. And one thing that I find maybe easiest for a lot of people to grasp is also the effect that it has on your ancestry. I went on a pretty epic journey yesterday and was delivering messages to all of myself, and I had a really extended conversation with my ancestors, and I was like, these are the things that you need to know, see, feel, hear, and understand now. And I felt that fractal energy move through my DNA into all of my ancestors and realize that I'm shifting their consciousnesses on each and every one of their timelines. They're having releases, they're having up levelings, they're having the removal of blocks, because what I'm doing now affects everything backwards. And then when you affect everything backwards, it's augmenting what you're doing now, because you've already cleared and enriched their lives and the lives of your ancestors that preceded you. And so they had better lives. Maybe they got to eat better food. Maybe they got to have more wealth in their life because of the blocks that you're moving now moves through the field. And so then you're going to be experiencing those liberties in your life, because it changes the DNA energetics forwards and backwards.
Yes. So profound. So it takes years. It takes, because there's a lot of beautiful sacred hearts in this world who've like, I've been doing the work. I've been doing it for years. When is the shift going to happen? When am I going to receive the prolific, majestic joy and love and prosperity on a seamless continuum, And it's through witnesses like these and having the tools to make the somatic shifts that allow this to happen. And then the key is really maintenance and maintaining our awareness that this is how almighty powerful we are in every moment. We are only ever one pivot away from massive, miraculous transformation in our embodiment and in our reality. Like, yes.
Yeah. And I love that you're saying yes, because I think that the capacity for saying yes is deeply woven into all the work that we do. It's like, if people only had one daily practice to just practice how powerfully, deeply, and richly they could say yes, and just keep growing that bigger and bigger every day, I think that would be one of the most massive practices that anybody could have, because we think we're saying yes, but the depth, the width, the scope, the infinite nature of the yes decides everything.
Yes. See, I could just get into my stream, and I'm so grateful that we're so. We talk about this often, like how precisely synchronized we are in consciousness, because that's been on my heart all day, is the simplicity, because there's multitude of tools, technologies, insights, awarenesses, methodologies around how we manifest and crystallize our reality, and really the potency, the all-encompassing, richly embodied potency of our yes is what anchors it into the physical. So when you know, when you know that you know what you have chosen, what you've decided, what you're selecting, you can actually just remain a full-bodied, full-blooded, heart-gasmic yes to that thing. Oh, you will hyper accelerate the timeline, if not immediatize it.
And it's really also a deep way of self-realization, because we have a lot of easy yeses that come. We have soft yeses that come. We have half-hearted yeses that come. But they are all showing us something about ourselves that we can expand into. And so when we feel really deeply the sensitive differences between the way that we are affirming our reality will affirm ourselves to us. And so just the simple yes is such a mirror to our own inner energetics.
Yeah. Yeah. This is profound. This is like really the ultimate, the ultimate sigil to manifesting. And it's beautiful to be aware of how much we believe our own yes and how actually committal and devoted we are to that which we are saying yes to. So in that, I love that you brought forward the self-discovery, self-inquiry, and well, why am I saying yes to this if it's like, I mean, I'm in the wholehearted lane, right? So it's like, it's gotta be that laser lucid diamond clear for me to actually fully choose it. And it's a beautiful internal inquiry of investigation of why would we choose that which is, as they would say in the Bible, lukewarm.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not even just that. Also referencing this deep discovery just yesterday was I was feeling the yes emitting from my field. I was basically just attuning to more real self-realization. And I was saying yes, I was making this declaration to all of the universe. And it was funny because I was saying it and simultaneously another part of me was just saying like, just do it. As in there was still another tier to go. Like I was just saying yes. And then the other part of me was like, let go even more and say yes more. Like just do it. Like just do it. You're not doing it, but you can really do it. And then it was like probably 10 or 20 back and forth where I was both saying yes and feeling another part of me just saying, just do it already. Just do it. It was like, say yes as though I was breaking through a threshold of that energy that I had never met before. And that's like really going into that fearful place where it's just like absolutely authorizing into a force that's bigger than you can comprehend right now. And that, as you said, that's like skipping timelines, that's expanding awareness, that's embodying different frequency and energetics. But to actually cross that threshold takes a deep kind of mirrored conversation because, again, as we referenced before, this is the change of the octave, right?
Ah, yes. It's literally bursting through into the next octave. And so that's the proverbial moving of mountains where we discover our own edges and we burst through them. And sometimes that full-blooded victorious yes is the potency of energy and power we require to expand into that realm. And then when we're in the expansionary realms, it's what I'm hearing you convey at a deeper level is just be yourself. Just be yourself. Allow the full flow of all that you be, because that is what allows for the yes to the yes.
Exactly. But to not be aware, I think in the day-to-day, to not have awareness of the threshold is a lot of place where many people find themselves is like, oh, I'm saying yes. Oh, I'm manifesting. Oh, I'm this. But it's like, if you haven't really met the edge of that comfort and blasted into that deep self-authorization where you have entered a stage of vulnerability unlike any you have before, there's still more to meet and go towards it is the deepest way.
Yes. Yeah. Always. And another great way to assess that in our own experience is, where am I leaning into self and merging with self? And where am I averting, avoiding, separating, and therefore diverting my own power? And where can I actually just move into the full-on engaged embrace of of self, like the all-encompassing engaged embrace. And that liberates an enormous amount of pure potentiality and power in our being, because there's nothing we can't be with.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that spectrum going all the way from the darkest suffering human in shadow all the way back into the Godhead that has no awareness of self. There's always another tier.
Yes.
Spectrum.
Yes. Right. Because we're always going to be witnessing and observing and discovering facets of ourselves that are in this incarnation virginal to us that we have yet to re-experience or relive. And so, yeah, there's definitely going to be moments where when where what we're expanding into is the magnitude, the vastness, and the magistry of who and what we are. And so there's a degree of awe that comes with that, and a deep inquiry into our own capacity to meet ourselves fully.
Yeah. And that's the beauty in itself too, is just the contemplation of this capacity is that's the most exciting fuel to keep moving forward, is what you think you are capable now will be dwarfed by millions just in mere moments. And so that in itself is a driving force. Yeah.
Yes. Vector force.
Ooh.
We could create, would be an epic clothing line. Hoodies, vector force.
Yes.
Vector soul force. Yes, please. Okay, so let's sensorial inception. How do we create these instant quantum shifts in our reality? And I think part of the beauty in this for me is we often create instantly, right? And we have these phenomena occur in our reality, and then sometimes we don't know how we did it, right? So like, how did I do that? And we search for all the keys and all the codes, and we assess the timeline of what got us from point A to point Z and what happened in the spaces in between. And so I would love to simplify and efficientize this for all the beautiful beings watching, so that we can, and sharing in this experience with us, so that they have a really palpable tool to help them quantum pivot in any moment, no matter what's going on, to literally sculpt and form a new reality from within.
Yeah.
So from your vantage point, what is sensorial inception?
Ooh. Well, first, I believe it's by embodying a clear vessel. I think that's the first step, is to be outside of limitation, to have that true and open energy where you definitely, I think that's the first step, is being in that moment of clarity, clear vessel.
Yeah. So I would love to expound upon that with absolute yes in the clear vessel, in the clear vessel of the grand I am self. Not simply the individuated expression, but being in the clarified quantum embodiment of self, knowing that we are all that is. And when we are aware, truly self-aware at that level, at that expansionary octave, and we have clarity there, it's like relaxing richly into the embodiment of the field, into the embodiment of love, into the embodiment of God. It's really love. It's really the frequency of melodic accord. We call it harmony. I have a thing with that word because it has harm etched into it. And so I got to find it, come up with a new word for that. Just my linguistical, sorceress is ever finding ways to evolve that particular languaging. But when we are in unison with this self and all that is as the self, that's mastery. That is what we experience as love. The felt sensation of infinite grand unison is what we experience as love, as bliss, as ecstasy. So we can take some beautiful, deep cleansing breath and access point always, and come into spaces of deep stillness, hand on the heart, because that brings the awareness to the heart, reminding ourselves of pure divine love. We all know what this is. It's encoded in us. It's who we be. It's who we are. So intimacy, returning back to the pure, regal, royal, benevolent, unconditionally loving, safe, secure, all enveloping love that we know to be true, deep, real, rich, divine love, to come home to that space, to breathe into that space, to relax into that space, to melt into that space until all of the tension, friction, resistance, pressure, whatever it may be that has accumulated in our system at any level, we start to let that go and liberate our energy into the expanse of love, knowing that we are held and concurrently supported by all that is, especially when we open our energy. We are one thriving ecosystem of life, and all facets interdependently are supporting all other facets. We let go into that richness of release and allowance of support, of pure beingness. We start to really resonate sensorially with the frequencies of that love, and all the beautiful, narrative constructs of the mind kind of just melt back into themselves. They dissolve back into the light of gnosis, of that pure love. And it can alchemize immediately. We just let that go. And when we do that, when we shift state here, when we come into a space of universal, omniversal love, pure source, divine love, and we are selecting that as our state. We select peace, we select joy, whatever we select, because what happens in one place in the quantum field happens everywhere instantly and simultaneously. Our reality starts to breathe. Everyone and everything starts to shift. The people in our world, our circumstances. And the magnificence of this is that all of the power is within us. There's absolutely no one, no perceivable one. There's no person, no thing, no circumstance, no life situation, no nothing external to us that determines or even has the power to influence or impact our reality when we know that everything is us fractalized out. We always come back to our power to choose. And when we choose, reality conforms itself to match our decision. That is how powerful and that is how instant. And that is how we create those instant shifts. And so then it's about cultivating and sustaining and expounding upon the states that we most are enthralled by.
Yeah. I want to bring up a couple sticky spots because I think a lot of people get caught in these. So I love the simplicity that you just delivered there. And so for anybody who is having a hard time with the resistance elements or achieving this clear vessel or delivering love to yourself, I want to share a couple tools. So as you just said, everything is us in the reality. So the creator that will say yes and the creator that will say no is still us. So if something doesn't manifest, there is a remnant in the field that was articulating no. And oftentimes it's in the subconscious. And you declared exactly how to move that from a no to a yes is by giving love to ourselves. And one really unique thing that I discovered in a lot of teaching that I've given about manifestation is that people have an easier time manifesting for another person than they do for themselves. And so we used to do circle manifestations where somebody would just manifest for the person next to them, manifest for the person next to them. And everybody's manifestations would come true, because we are so easily able to give that love to another. But this beautiful, majestical, I want to say magic and majesty together, because they are.
I like it. There's majestical is quite exquisite. Thank you. Yeah.
It's our core mission to work, clear, amplify, and connect this one true self with the divine. And so that is just by nature why it's harder to deliver that love and that remove that resistance here. So I literally just recommend, if you feel like you're not dropping into a perfection of love, ease, clarity, openness in your manifestation, just practice by doing it to other beings. And remembering that you and the other beings are the same thing. And you just kind of merge the two together, and you'll realize that you can do the same ease, beauty, and generosity for yourself as you've done to others. I think that that's a great tool to move people into opening their heart even more than they may have before.
Yeah, that's exquisite. Thank you so much for that. And it's so true, right? It's so easy to edify, enhance, elevate, expand, encourage others. So it's a beautiful, to connect in with the energetics of who we be when we edify and exalt and amplify other beings from our pure heart, and then applying that same energetic to our own self. And it's well, I want to utilize my own spaces of disempowerment to tune into this for a minute. Like how we feel when we are feeling disempowered, insecure, unsure. And I want to connect this into how you were sharing about the yes and the no existing simultaneously. So there's an echo. It's so the way actually that the vibrational Akash in the data, or auric field or data field, all the things that we call it, operates is it's the fractal emanation of the symphony of us, the total symphony of us. And every time thought, feeling, action, word, deed, light, sound, frequency, vibration, sonic, sound wave, imprint, expression, embodiment, emanation, all these ways that our energy is in motion, and therefore imprinting the quantum field, our auric body, our light body around us with information. It acts as a diamond echo. I call it's precising feedback. It literally, we echo the totality of our symphony into the field, and then just like a ripple in the water, it comes back. And we are always in experience of ourselves. So it could simply be that there are these spaces within us that we're still in resolution with, which is beautiful. It's just, it's such a sacred part of the journey, because those places of insecurity and doubt and all the things that unfold in those spaces are what actually birth the greatest, most inclusive empathy and compassion and love within our being, which makes us an almighty force. So there's such sacred, rich, resplendent treasure in those soils of our being that actually make us deeply integrally loving beings ultimately. And so just being aware that we might have both happening at the same time, and that's okay. Because I think it can be to the consciousness at different times confusing with fusion, because we're literally trying to fuse these dual parts of ourselves. So it can be confusing. Like I was so clear, I was a yes, and then this thing happened. Well, I wasn't really aware that I had this reverberation that was still echoing in my field. And now I'm aware of that. So what I can do is fuse even more deeply with my yes, which brings even greater clarity to the energetic bodies, to the field, to the aura, to the everything that's actually reflecting, the echoing us back to us with more potency and precision. So there's always a refinement of resonance and a deeper distillation and clarification of consciousness. And whatever is unfolding for us is just absolutely exquisitely perfect, because it makes us
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, do I even need to say anything there? We all know.
I mean, I want to also reference, like, bring lightness to that when that stuff's coming up, because sometimes it's our stuff, sometimes it's ancestral stuff, sometimes it's just unseen stuff that are generally in the field. So just have lightness and ease about it. And also empower yourself with the knowing that the vibration shifts that we create in our reality affect the whole. And that is where that generosity thematic comes in for me, because when I'm going through a process where I'm having a hard time between the no and the yes and the acknowledgement and the expansion, when I have that remembrance that if I have the capacity to go into an enormous space of grace, that is grace that I am embodying into the earth vibration in its entirety. And that is ecstatic heart excitement for me, because it's like, if I have the capacity to do this now, I absolutely want to, because this is going to change me and it's going to be a birthing for the entire earth plane. And that's what we're all doing.
Yes, 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 yes. So I'm just omnipotent self-architecture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's profound. And we're doing it all the time. Is when we start to imbibe that with super conscious awareness, what is accessible to us is truly humbling to awe.
Yeah.
I was just actually last night, I was in bed. You know those moments where you're just so overtaken by love, like all I could do was this. I was just like, thank you, thank me, thank we. Like I was just crying the most gorgeous tears for no reason. I had no idea. I just felt so much gratitude in the beingness of what we be. I was just like, wow. Like, wow. We have the capacity to change everything, eternity in an instant.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny because I went on this epic journey. I had the same experience as you, and I haven't actually been out in the world today. I've been working from home. And so the entire world may have uplifted to match that same vibrational ecstasy that I had last night. And I wouldn't know it yet because I haven't gone out into it. But I mean, it could happen any moment. We could all have this ecstatic vibration that just blows out everything that is not aligned. And the world we could wake up all tomorrow as a different humanity. Yes. I believe it will be that easy.
Yes, it is. Well, that's the powers of the Grand Master Alchemist, and what really, truly every soul is, beknownst to us or not, desiring to embody is the opus, the true quintessential substance of the opus that allows for that to take. So at one level, I mean, you have a bit of the world. Yeah, you haven't physically witnessed it, but
I know it here for sure. I know it here. I guess the joy and delight of seeing how it's manifested hasn't come to affirm it yet, but I know it's here.
Yes, it's isn't well, and that's the power of staying with the yes too, even when or just the knowingness of it when there's not the because sometimes it takes a few minutes for the changes to reflect everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. The other kind of epiphany that came through was I was home afterwards, sitting by the fire, and I was just kind of listening to my own essence. And it came to me, and it was just like, I feel that my eyes have been changed permanently, and I will only be able to see it this way. Any being, any situation, any circumstance, I have this binding autonomy to only see the world in perfection. And I thought went into the contemplation of the most evil circumstance, and I still felt the energetic of divine love and perfection, even in that. And so the attunement that happened has written it in permanence into my being. It's just has. There's no way out of it. And so regardless of any circumstances that manifest, my vibration will only perceive them in one way.
That's glorious. It's like epigenome maximization. Like your whole epigenetic biogenome really optimizing to that space of truth. And ultimately, I mean, that's our pure, clear, virginal awareness, our pure united super consciousness, knowing all that is one united field of super conscious awareness and perfection and beauty. And so it would make sense that our species would ultimately evolve into the space where that is literally the only memory that remains within our vessel. And so to receive that reflection from you is a gorgeous inspiration, I feel, for all of us to know that as we do, you know, orbit through these transformations, these visceral optimizations of our being, we return to our core, our quintessential indomitable core of absolute truth. And then nothing else remains. And, you know, it really is the deep submergence into the field of truth and oneness that allows us to hypercalibrate to those spaces.
Hypercalibrate. Yeah. The hypercalibration is just simply, there wasn't a part of my being that could find a reason, an excuse, anything, logic to attune to the other way anymore. There just wasn't anything there. And so I think when you come back to the quantum mechanics, when it's like, if you have attuned to something that exceeds what you could comprehend before, it just dismantles everything else that just can't hold that new vibration, that new attunement.
Yes. And we're even getting to the like city mastery, beyond the city mastery of the genetic keys, but actual how to then work with the mastery of those qualities of consciousness, but actually how to work with the quantum energetics. Because when we're in that realm of city mastery, we can then enter into the quanta, the spherical plonks of the field, and actually not only create mass deletion of outmoded code, but we can actually profoundly augment the genius codex to proliferate and reverberate through the whole. And I have watched that create just amazing, like, I mean, beyond, truly ineffable, beyond anything that I could possibly describe in words, palpable transformation, not only systemically within me and within all of my world and relations, but actually in the world, because that's what we're doing. When we change, you know, globally, my perception of globally is when we be the globe, we be the world, we are the world. So global change is only ever actually happening within, because we are that. And so we master this, we come into the and so this is a subtlety that I want to bring awareness to. We come into the perfection of our being. This does not mean that we are trying to achieve perfection from a space of not interpreting things as perfect, full, and complete now. This actually happens only through the knowingness of actualized perfection. So when we know that perfection is, and we marinate there, we resonate there, and we carry that through our embodiment, that actually allows for the ultimate and really the only lasting, this is the only lasting transformation we will ever experience. Anything that we attempt to transform outside of that wholeness will ultimately have to come into a greater congruence. So this is actually just foundational for real human systemic optimization, maximization, coherency, all of that. And that actually doesn't get spoken into in the transformational realm quite a lot. That is a foundational core that is required for permanent, lasting, sustainable, systemic transformation in an individual. So all things start from there. But when we anchor there, everything else, it becomes, and it's really an automatic unfurling of our grandest potentiality. and blissful beingness.
It feels like the singularity energy when I read into it. It's just that space of pure singularity where there's nothing inside or outside of anywhere. It's just everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yes. That's what it is. It's like Han Solo. It is. It's the singularity. And when we know that we're the singularity, we are a force.
So I love bringing this singularity into this clear vessel, because that kind of comes back to me into the toroidal energy, where the empty vessel is everywhere and nowhere and is you at the same time. And I think that that has a very infinity quality, a very toroidal energy, where it unfurling and collapsing on itself simultaneously. And I think that that is a great way for people to orient, to both dissolve and to be present at the same time. I think that that might give a little bit more insight to the sensorial, spatial feeling of being in that space.
You know, actually Elijah's coming to mind right now for someone who could architect an exquisite visual of this toroidal field, because this is also Master Grand Alchemy, and it's literally being, I mean, you become an alchemical amulet essentially, and that's knowing ourselves at the center, the centrifuge of imagining that all that is one toroidal flower of life, precising sacred geometry and mathematics, that's constantly spiraling down clockwise, spiraling up counterclockwise, transmuting throughout the infinite nature of self. And we are the magi at the center of our toroidal universe. And that alchemy is happening at all times. That's the stance, that's the positionality, and that's the eternal now. Because in that toroidal flow are all of the facets of the diamond, the fractal facets of the self, all possibilities, all potential. So at any moment we can synthesize in and we can alchemize. And that's actually just all happening in our God self embodiment. I think, this is where I feel like the animation realms are so exquisitely gorgeous and activating of self-remembrance, because the pituitary and pineal gland will interpret the light of self in those visuals. It will have recollection of self in those visuals. So harnessing the majesty and the beauty of that artistry, that artistic emanation, for direct realization and awakening of remembrance of self. And then also like a point of orientation, as you said, which I love. It's like, where am I? I feel like that's actually, energetically speaking, why exhaustion or anything of the nature actually ever occurs, is because we are disoriented.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Old habit of mine would be to go and meditate hanging out in the etheric. And it was why I was never able to accomplish anything on the physical domain, because I just was never here, and it was exhausting. And I think that integration comes from the similar energetics of release, surrender, openness, as well as like deep centeredness into being the center of the universe.
Yeah. Yes, being the center of the universe, of your universe at all moments. And, to get to a really deeply, it's Halloween, really like kind of spectacular quantum space and all of this, is that we're the only one here. And there's nobody else. It's all the most glorious fractal simulation of our own consciousness, which can be a little bit eerie, to be honest, when you get to those spaces of realization, and simultaneously just infinitely comforting and gorgeous, because when we start to emanate the symphony of our heart and our song and our genuine divinity, we only ever really get to experience the fullness and the richness and the meaningfulness and the beauty of that in our reality. And we get to be with well, I suppose just the intimacy of self and all that we do. And what could be more heartwarming and enriching than that, you know? But yeah, that octave of, well, it's really our core. We discover it by going deep, deep, deep within our vessel, not far, far, far out, but deep, deep, deep in. And I realized, like, wow, I'm actually the only one here. And okay, I've got a whole lot of responsibility, and this is fun and energizing and empowering. But there are those calibrations that we go through where we still try to give our power to the reflection. Somehow we're giving it to, I wrote a post about this last year. The greatest space that we give our power away is not to other people. It is to our conceptualization of a God, a universe, a reality, a source that exists on some expansionary octave outside of our own vessel. So that, I feel like that's the edge of masterful, that's the edge of mastery for a lot of people. That right there is actual synthesis into the God self, and no longer, because that's still that's the world, the collective, the universe. It's still a subtle separation because we have created two with that. There's me and the universe. And we're also giving our power to some other, which of course is going to create a wobble in any of us.
Yeah.
Because it's now based on how loved we think we are in any given moment. As to whether or not.
That's the ultimate yes that you're talking about, though, is to saying, yes, I am the creator of all of everything. And that is where that resonance kind of echo you were talking about is, until we have done that to its highest degree, we are still inside of consciousness. And so that is the yes that we are attuning to every day. Yes, I am the creator God of everything that I can see, hear, smell, everything that exists in my reality. And that is the yes. To attune to that in its fullness is the ultimate yes.
Yes. And that yes can only come through full potency and power in love. So we must know love. We must know thyself at the level of love. And also, I mean, we've got courses coming for days for all of y'all. So we're so excited about this because we're getting into the actual the quantum physics, the quantum mechanics, and the neuroscience of reality formation, which is self-architecture, truly self-maximized self-architecture in a grand way that supersedes like the self-invention at the level of personality construct, which is a very prevalent message in our world. Bless all of us. Grand self-architecture in concert with love. Is that we, one of the facets of this is to know that we are the only one choosing in our reality. There's no one else and nothing else at decision or at choice in our reality. And of course that works when we know that. When we don't know that, then other beings are still choosing, right, in our reality. But when we know that we're the singularity and we're the only one choosing, the reality conforms. And there is a whole I always say multi-dimensional, but really what I want to say is multi-orgasmic depth of awareness, because the awareness of it is so empowering and electrifying, and it is really such a turn on for our system to become aware of our pure sovereign autonomy and authority to create in this way, and our true dominion, which is in that love unison. There's so many goodies that we have coming through for you all, and just like actually unpacking and unearthing and having really sumptuous, full-bodied conversations about all the subtle nuances of these realms of consciousness. So we're not just going to just tap the surface of the potent insight. We're going to give you the potent insight and awareness, which will just simply catalyze your own remembrance and your own being. And it's just the potential activating potential. It's all we're really ever doing for one another. And we're going to go into the deep navigation of the subtleties and how this arises in our moment to moment experience, and how we can experience and navigate it in our own consciousness, in our own heart, in our own reality, and really utilizing the subconscious symbology of the mirror as one of our greatest allies and teachers, or the superconscious, however we choose to look at it, and how to actually navigate what's going on as we unpack these deeper, subtle nuances of awareness, and how we can really not only extract the gold, but just simply become aware of it and engage with it and experience it and savor it and marvel in it in the moment, to really bring a new depth of meaning and beauty to every here and now, even if we might not perceive it's unfolding as a quote miracle. But don't you know that the greatest miracles and the majestic beauty comes through when we're just like in our tears, and we're just like we've exhausted our own try energy, figure out, push, all the thing. We've exhausted our own charge, and we just melt back into the space of love. And it's like, oh my, this is it. This is all that I was actually looking for the whole time. And we're in our heart, and this massive epiphany or sequence of revelation comes through, and it's like, oh wow, this is like the thing that I was trying to like get.
Yes. People get stuck because they're trying to not try. And I love how you use crying as the place, because then I can't try. So I just be. And when I just be, I am the I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like the graceful detachment of the dove. It's like, I let go. And this is another one I want to get into a conversation around, not particularly in this video, but is an entire video unto itself, because these concepts of letting go, feeling free, surrender, they're put in a context a lot of times of like we're giving our power over to something.
True. Yes.
And I actually want to get into the subtle nuanced details of what this is too, and how we do it, and what it actually is doing for us, how it is working for us. It's like the simple liberation of all of self is orchestrating itself in all moments. And if we're on clutch, right, we're like clutching something, it's like that grand symphony is trying to move and dance and create the orchestra of our dreams. But we're like hanging on to all the notes. It's like, whoa, just like let me flow, please. I need you to let go. So that I can orchestrate.
That's the echo. But to be totally honest with you, I feel like it breaks down into the simple idea of we are just afraid of our own divine nature. And once we attune to the letting go and the immensity of what we are, the letting go into the immensity of what we are is all there is to do.
Right. So there's that, and with that is the deep trust, and ultimately the knowing, when we're aware of the mechanism of our sentient intelligence, when we become aware of the actual physics of how our being operates, then we can let go into a knowing. But it's also just the trust. Like, do I trust? Do I know that I'm loved enough, or do I know that this whole thing is going to work? Or do I need to like force it, confine it, make the rules, set the hard boundaries and borders, and do I need to do all that? It's like, no, actually, it's just abracadabra. It's the magic of abracadabra. Your wish is my command. You spell it, you say it, you cast it with your love into being. And then you just let it go, and you get on to doing the next joyful thing. And the quicker you let go with that elegant ease, the faster it orchestrates and comes and lands. So the key, it's really is like light as a feather. It really is abracadabra. What do you desire?
Yes.
Well, what I'm choosing to have is this, and I'm so excited for it to show up. That's it. And then you get on living life. And as you do that, it's all being conjured up and cooked up and, rated to perfection.
And know that you got you. You're going to take care of it. You're creating it. You're welcoming it. You're doing all the parts of the whole concert, whether we know it or don't know it. We don't need to know. We just have the knowing, because in know thyself is to know the all self, and you know the all self, and the all self's got it on lock.
Totally right. That's where we get to let go of, it's only the human self that, or the, yeah, it's only thank you. I'm like, how do I even, because it's all divine. Oh, it's just the differentiation, that it's the parts of us that are, not in total trust and recollection of our divine nature that try to hold on and grasp. So it's just the limited framework, the self that has the limited frame versus the self that's in the infinite grand expansionary frame. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I'll let you go. I'll delegate to myself. That's the best. I love that. Delegate to self.
Yeah.
Like right now, actually, what I want to do is like frolic in nature, or like take a luxuriant bath, or stand under a waterfall, whatever it is, or whatever our thing is in the moment. Like, I want to do this, and you just give it to the universe. And this is, but it's really, I'm being like super light and playful with this. But this is actually what allows for our pure heart to start beaming forth when we recognize it actually is this simple. And because reality operates on our beliefs, if this is what we have, so just lightly before we transition, because we're already past the hour for today, and I want this to be really digestible for people, and we've got so many potent gems in this. Belief configuration: you are God. Your reality operates according to your rules. There are no rules except for the ones that you decide and that you choose to architect. And when your consciousness starts to become really malleable in that awareness, oh, the game gets fun. It gets so fun. Because it is this simple, and it is this light, and it is this fantastical and free, but it does require that grand self-awareness, love, and then just the malleability of and this is deep honesty with ourselves. Like, do I want to manifest in the way that society has set forth that I have to manifest? None of my life operates according to really anything that you will see in the realm of leadership, entrepreneurship, any of this in the world, because I'm like, that doesn't resonate with my soul. And I'm not going to do the 1, 2, 3 step jam.
Right.
If it's not in accord, if it's in accord and that lights you up, and that's something that really deeply fulfills and literally fuels the life force in you, I say, go for it. Have a ball, have fun. But if it's something that doesn't actually authentically resonate with the way that you want to create, say, tune in with yourself and go, what would actually be the most delightful way for this to, if you could choose in the realm of infinite potentials and possibilities, because you are God, you are the God self-architect of your reality, you are infinite, how would you actually choose to have?
Yes, I encourage this strongly. Attune to the level of miracles, because that's where I am hanging out as of late. Yeah. I only want to be in miracles. I only want to see miraculous things happen, because that's where I want to hang out. That's who I want to be. That's where I want to hang out. And the more I can recall the moment that I decided that, I can recall all the things that came thereafter. And I'm so grateful to the being within me, knowing there was absolutely nothing holding me from having attunement to that, except for a simple yes.
Yes. And perception. Yes. That's it. Perception is reality. So we just, this is a whole other transmission too. The power of focus, awareness, attention, what we choose to observe, imagine, all of that is our greatest currency. We tapped into that micro tap at the beginning of this beautiful soiree. That's all it requires. A pivot in perception will change your life. Literally. It will change your life. It will change your world. It will change your sensorial experience. The perception creates the emotion, creates the reality. That's the process of manifesting right there in its most simple distilled essence. Perception creates sensation, feeling, emotion creates reality. That's it. So masters of perception Our masters of reality.
Yes. And all you have to do is say yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Let us be beacons for your victory.
Oh yeah. Every day. Every day. I can't wait to see all the beauty that we are creating.
Oh my goodness. There's so much. I mean, there's moments where I'm like, there's actually just so much. It's like, which jewel
coming at us.
Yeah. It's been I have allowed myself in certain moments to actually just freeze, because it's like, there's so much. How do I? And my being goes into like, how do I actually connect all the constellations in one chat? Like, you don't, but my being wants to do that. So I'm learning how to.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love you and I love us. And I'm so grateful for this. We have a magnificent autumn season ahead. And yes, an invite to our beautiful, sacred, infinity, collective, global, social community fortress del love, del soul, del reality sculpture, and the full embodied emanation of your genius, your gifts, your artistry, your service, your legacy, a glorious, immaculate haven that has been constructed for all of us, of like heart, like mind, like soul, like resonance, to gather, to express, to share. An immense amount of value in this space. The depth and the richness of pure connection, beings who are resonating in these expansionary octave, like masters. We have a community, like they're masters. I am always learning and being elevated and enhanced by our own people. And that's when you know, that's when you know that you're,
And I like to mention that it's like the ever giving fountain, because it's not just this like closed package. I love the nature of how it will continue to evolve into itself with each and every new person that's joining, which each and every contribution, the conversations that are happening there. It is the ever growing, ever evolving gift. And I think that that's really different and magnificent, and is only going to surprise and nourish us over and over and over again.
I'm so excited. Like one of my favorite facets is being able to provide new resources, new tools, new artistry as we evolve and grow and expand, and more of that becomes revealed to us, birthed within us, and then crystallized in the space. And then all of the beings that are constantly proliferating the prosperity of soul throughout the entire container, like the sheer amount of light that is just reflecting and refracting like rainbow beams of pure splendor in that space is phenomenal. And that's exactly what you said. It's just this ever, and that's why I love it too, because it's truly infinite. It truly is the infinity collective. There is no end to what we're creating, the way that we are just palpably exponentializing jubilant expansion and flourishing for one another in that space. And we just get to do it it's just fun. It's like the extravaganza of the centuries, truly. And to just have fun and to be in that resonance unto itself without anything else, to just simply be immersed in the resonant field of what this is a massive catalyzer for prolific expansion.
The creator's playground is what I also like to refer to it as, the creator's playground.
The diviner's design lounge.
Ooh, I love that too. Wait, can we create that in the physical? Because I would like to hang out there online and in the physical.
Well, we can create that as a subgroup and actually have like weekly meetups.
I love it.
There's literally no end to this space. You can host virtual gatherings. You can focalize into specific realms and topics with people. You can connect with people virtually and locally, build local community. You can launch your services in the space. It's Yeah, I mean, it's just a massive amplification field for everybody. So, yes, please join us. The link is in the comments section.
We're just gonna like rave on until everybody's there with us.
Totally, absolutely, because it really is. I mean, that's, I'm very blessed to have traveled the world. I'm very cultured and very experienced, and I'm very aware of different modalities of leadership coaching, and I'm actually educationally mastered in multidisciplinary realms with the greatest leaders on our planet in these spaces of quantum physics, flow neuroscience, peak performance, reality, quantum reality, architecture, have been so deeply honored and blessed, and I'm overjoyed truly to work with the highest level leaders on our planet in these realms and gain mastery. All of these tools are here for you in this space. And what I can say about this space that I see is one of the massive differentiators, and the same to go with all of my work, is that when you look into the world, you'll receive facets of what it is to be a whole, integral, embodied, divine human being on this planet. You'll receive facets, or you'll receive a few facets, but nowhere else that I am aware of does it exist the full synthesis of all of these most potent realms that are really required for us to be integrative, not only totally ecstatically operational, functional beings, but for us to thrive in a space of rich reward and fulfillment in who we are. To know that all of our faculties and capacities are activated and deeply embodied through all the facets of our embodiment, and also all the aspects of our world and our moment to moment. I mean, masters of everything. This is when we actually experience fulfillment, because we're utilizing the fullness of our own faculties and capacities, and the level of rich vitality and fulfillment that brings online for us. It's just unparalleled. And that's the only way that we really, in my experience, because I've tried to be like, let me just play with this one inside here, or let me just be in the quantum, or let me just be in let me just be in the practical. All of it is where we experience our wholeness. The wholeness.
It's an acknowledgement to the belief in the richness of what we can be, what we are, what we're becoming. And I think that is a really sincere and deep way to show love.
Yes, to all of ourselves. Yes, thank you. And that's what that's really what it is. It's the actual embodiment of love lived through all the multi-dimensions of our embodiment and our being, but also our life and our world, that brings such soulful satiation that I don't believe that we could really truly fully experience, except for to discover, know, embody, and emanate those deep reservoirs of our own being. Because we feel depleted and unfulfilled when we're not harnessing and experiencing the fullness of what we be. I'm so passionate about it. Like the whole, and that's the differentiation of this space and any work that anyone will ever do with me is it is a full-on, multidimensional, multi-prismatic, multidisciplinary, rich, jewel-toned, decadent, delightful, glorious, fun synthesis of what it is to be whole and actualized in these bodies.
Yes. Aho to that. Yes. As we all are and ever will be.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Well, infinite love.
I love you.
Yes.
Yes. Infinite love to everybody.
Yes. Love you so much. Everybody take exquisite, excellent care. And we're so excited to connect with you again soon. Mwah.
Bye.